Rev up your engines! Craig Bossman says, what are your thoughts on a Silverado EV, electric vehicle? Well, they're not out yet, so I can't really give a thought because I've never worked on them. You can't drive them. I've never seen one. So it's all future stuff. All I got to say is GM has had nothing but problems with the electric vehicles they have built over time, and I can't see why all of a sudden, out of the blue, they're going to build a perfect one. They've made so many mistakes in the electric cars that they built. I would never buy one, especially when they're making something like that new from scratch. I just wouldn't trust them. They've had so many problems with their electric cars. I would never buy a GM electric car unless they started making them. And then I looked, and after 5 years, they didn't have much troubles. Then, yeah, you'd think about it too. But I'd never buy an electric vehicle for quite some time. There's no infrastructure. Until they build tens of thousands of charging stations, I wouldn't buy an electric car. I travel around a lot. You got to have them charged up. You got to be able to be there and charge them up and not wait for 10 other people, and each one takes an hour. I'm not buying one anytime soon. Louis Garrow says, looking at an 09 Hummer 3.7, what do you think is worth buying? No. The Hummer 3s were the worst vehicles ever made. They were horrendous vehicles, and that's what led to them not building them at all. They were built in Shreveport, Louisiana, and they were built like crap. The only Hummers that are really good were the H2s. They were really well made. Shorter frame from the Silverado, big engine, but they can turn real easy. My neighbor's got one. He loves it. He's got 380,000 miles on it. They're garbage. I would not buy a Hummer 3. One of the reasons they stopped making it was the last one. 3 and out. I would not buy one. You'd be throwing your money away. Crayola says, Scotty, do downstream oxygen sensors affect fuel trims at all, or do they only affect worn catalytic converters? No, they affect fuel trims too. They all affect fuel trims because they don't want the catalytic converter to get too hot or too cold to work right. So if they see it's running too rich or too lean, then it'll tell the computer. If it's running too rich, it'll tell it to lean it out. If it's running too lean, it'll tell it to richen out. They all work together. That's why they got one before and one after. So you can get a true reading of the entire system. It's a relatively complex system. They measure residual oxygen indirectly, and it's complicated stuff, but they do affect fuel trims. I've seen them many times. Cars have wacky fuel trims and they had a bad back sensor after the cat. I put a new one in, someone would run like a clock after that. Variavante says, Scotty, I'm thinking about buying a 2013 Scion FRS. I know it's really a Subaru. Have you seen many with over 150,000 miles? Are they long-term reliable? I've seen some, and they're relatively reliable. Now, you got to maintain them because it's a Subaru. Those engines are bad engines if you don't change the oil regularly and the coolant every 4 or 5 years. But if you do that, yeah. Now, if you're going to buy one, it's going to have some mileage on it, probably. Have a mechanic like me check it out. Don't just go cold turkey into it. You might get screwed over. Have a mechanic check it. A mechanic can tell you what kind of shape it's in with this fancy scan tool within an hour. I always warn people, hey, do it. Now, if you're in Clarksville or if you're in Rhode Island in the summer when I go back there, I check them out for people Monday through Friday absolutely free. I make videos out of it, teach people more about how not to get ripped off. So you're around there, I'd check them out for free. But you got to have a good mechanic check them out. Thomas Shannon. Scotty, my '06 Audi A4 drops all revs and doesn't accelerate if they push the pedal too quickly to the floor, not if slowly. Could this be the fuel pump? Well, it could be. It could be all kinds of stuff. If your fuel filter's clogged or your fuel filter doesn't pump enough, when you try to accelerate quickly, it can't get enough fuel, it'll bog down. Of course, if the injectors are clogged, if your air filter's clogged, a lot of things can do that. If I were you, first thing I'd do is change the fuel filter, because if it's a clogged filter, that can fix it, and that's the easiest, cheapest fix. If not that, after you change the filter, pressure test the fuel pump, see if the pressure's low. Don't just pressure test it, because the clogged filter will show low pressure, and let's say the filter's clogged, and you check the pressure with the old filter, you might say, oh, the pressure's low, put a pump in. Those pumps cost a small fortune on Audis, and if that didn't fix the problem because the filter was clogged, you'd be kicking yourself. Right outside the narrative says, I got an '06 Chevy Tahoe for $3,000 with 190,000 miles. It runs good. I replace belts, pulleys, and oil pressures under. Give me some tips on making it last. All right, change the oil every 3,000 to 5,000 miles. Do that religiously. You want to take care of the oil. Watch the temperature gauge. Change your coolant every 3 or 4 years. If it hasn't been done or you don't know, change that now. And baby it. Now, back in '06, Chevy made better trucks than they make today by far. They are stronger. They're really well made. Now, the weakest point of that truck is the automatic transmission. So if I were you, I would baby it. I wouldn't be doing burnouts and driving like a maniac. You want to go 80 miles an hour, go ahead. Don't go 0 to 80 in 10 seconds. Take your time doing it. It can go fast, but you don't want to wear it out by accelerating too quickly. That will destroy the transmission. That's the weakest point. Robert says, love your videos. I got an '07 Chevy Colorado 4-cylinder. The cracked manifold. How hard is it to change? Strange how it happens. Seems like a design flaw. Well, GM makes a lot of stuff cheaper. It's a 4-cylinder engine, so you only got one exhaust manifold. The problem is they're made out of cast iron, and they're bolted onto the head of the engine. All that heat for all those years, since 2007, those bolts often will break when you try to take them off. Overnight, spray them with WD-40, any kind of good penetrating oil. There's lots of good penetrating oils out there. Let it soak overnight. Then try to get them off without breaking the nuts and bolts. Now, sometimes those things just will break because you got all that heat on them and they're cast iron. Things can break. Obviously, the manifold's cracked, so, that was from heat. Just soak them first, then pray you can get them off. The best thing to do is to, before you take them off, heat them up so they're red hot. Then they'll come off easier. Red hot metal will unscrew much better. Then the rust becomes more slippery when it's hot, glowing, and you can take them apart with heat. Try that first. Rick H. says, Scotty, I bought a 99 ES300. It has loose steering. What could it be? Rack strut, steering coupling? Well, you got to figure that out. I got a video, how to check out your own car's suspension system. Scotty, watch that. It gives you all the tips. You can check it up in the front first. Pull on the wheels like this. If they go clunka clunka, usually means it's a tie rod. If you pull them like this, 12 and 6, clunka clunka, usually means it's a ball joint. If it's in the coupling on the steering, you'll see when you turn the steering wheel, the wheels themselves don't move because the coupling's loose. And then look down with a flashlight, see if the coupling's broken and wobbling back and forth. Everything can be physically checked. You just need to know how to do it. You watch that video, it shows you pretty much everything you need to know. No Content TV. I agree with that one. Says, Scotty, what do you think of an 05 Suzuki Reno automatic with 70,000 miles? Not much. Suzuki pulled out of the car market in the United States a long time ago because their cars are little and crappy. Good luck getting parts for that thing if it breaks in the United States. Nobody has parts for those things. Now, on the other hand, it's only got 70,000 miles. They pulled out a long time ago. The cars basically are worth nothing. If you can get it dirt cheap, $500, $1,000, and it runs, it shifts okay now, what the heck? It's as good as a knockaround vehicle. But don't pay a bunch for one because it's impossible to get parts for them, and they're pretty cheaply made cars, which is kind of weird because Suzuki makes screaming motorcycles. I got a Suzuki Gixxer. That thing's a screaming motorcycle, but their cars, they were kind of crappy. Unknown says, Scotty, in my 03 Ford Explorer, it hesitates to go in reverse and first at times when it's cold, struggles to catch first unless they give it gas. It upshifts and downshifts good. Here's what I advise you to do. It's worth a try because sometimes it works miracles. You get the Lucas stop slip. You drain a quart of fluid out of your transmission and then you pour a quart of the Lucas stop slip in and give it 250 miles of driving. I've seen it work miracles and fix those things on the Fords like that. If it doesn't, it means it's wearing out internally. You'll have to rebuild it eventually. It costs so much money. I don't think you want to put $3,000 to $5,000 into that thing, rebuilding a transmission. But the Lucas often will work. I've used it for years on the older ones. The newer ones are different. It doesn't work very well. But on the old ones, it works quite well. Kyle Flames says, Scotty got an 07 Chevy Ambulance, and it cranks weak in the winter. My check engine light comes on, but in the summer, it runs fine. What's wrong? It's cold in the winter, it's warm in the summer. So, you probably have some type of electrical problem. When it gets really cold outside, electricity is harder to flow, especially on connectors that are somewhat loose or corroded, and then they don't pull the electricity correct. Plus, batteries don't work as good when they're cold too. So the first thing you want to do is, when it's cold, have your battery load tested by a mechanic. I can do it in 30 seconds. If it says it's bad, replace the battery. Could be as simple as a battery. Could be loose terminals on the battery. Could be loose terminals on the starter. Lots of things can do that. That's affected by the cold weather. Then when it's warm, a connector that isn't perfect will still work okay. But when it's cold, they got to be perfectly tight and clean, no corrosion, or they'll crank weird. John Osborne said, did you do a video on permanent antifreeze? Oh, I've done many videos on antifreeze. Now here's the thing. There's no such thing as a permanent antifreeze. In my grandfather's day, originally they used alcohol and water, but of course then when it got hot outside, the alcohol would evaporate because it evaporates before the water and the car would overheat. So they invented antifreeze and they called it permanent antifreeze. And it wasn't. And then after 3 to 5 years, everything rusted in the cars and they, oh boy, this stuff ruined my car's engine because the anti-rust inhibitors break down after so many years. Now, that was back in the day of green antifreeze. Today, there's a bunch of organic acid technology. Oat and HOAT, hybrid organic acid. The green stuff is inorganic acid technology, IAT, and it doesn't work as well. But the oats and the Holt coolants that most use today, they last a lot longer. For instance, Toyota, you can go 7 years, 150,000 miles on those babies and it won't hurt anything until you go 7 years, 150,000 miles. It's better coolant, but it's not permanent. It does not last forever. They all have inhibitors, especially today. Cars aren't cast iron like they used to be. They're mainly aluminum, but aluminum corrodes really badly. So the anti-aluminum corrosion inhibitors, after a while, they break down and your engine will corrode. So you still got to change them, just at a longer period of time. So if you never want to miss another one of my new car repair videos, remember to ring that bell.